Hello everyone, welcome back to Yes Guy Gaming. And we're here with a different type of video. I wanted to take the time and go through some of the top beach volleyball video games ever made. There's some games out there and games that have been made in the past. I hear people mention all the time that we have no good volleyball video games, and while I kind of agree with that sentiment, I wish we had more, or maybe one really good one. We have in the past had games that really do beach volleyball well, and I'm hopefully going to try to showcase some of those in this list. As always, if you disagree or you think there's a different game should be a different spot on this list, hit me up in the comments below. I'd love to chat with you guys about that and engage in the discussion, but hopefully this is a pretty representative list of some of the top 10 beach volleyball video games of all time. At number 10 we have Kings of the Beach. Now this one is kind of a funny one, and it didn't make its spot in my original top 10 of all time list. I think because the mechanics aren't maybe the best, but what's cool about it is you can play as Karch Karai or St. John Smith, some of the top US beach volleyball players of all time in the game. You can kind of move around in this career mode, training, go to tournaments. It's kind of an interesting one for that. It has some content that we don't really see in other games. I think the only reason it's not higher on the list is I don't think the mechanics are super smooth and the gameplay is super fun to play, but definitely an interesting one, and one that I would love to see kind of redone with some new tech and some new design updates. At number 9 we have Beach Spikers. Now maybe some of you thought that this game should have been on my top 10 of all time list. I've seen this game online mentioned before as some of the top of all time. I don't know about that. I know it's got some decent beach volleyball mechanics. I think one thing that kind of put a bad taste in my mouth was all the corporate sponsors that are popping up all over the place. The other thing was your partner kind of sucks. The AI is kind of weird. It's kind of an arcadey style game that doesn't really give you a lot of options. It's mostly the same thing every time, but the partner interactions are hilarious, and I would love to see that in more volleyball games. It's like you interacting with your partner, like encouraging them or chirping them, like that's hilarious. And being able to pound one down or get a massive block is still a ton of fun, so I think that puts it at number 9 on this list. At number 8 is one that it will definitely come out of nowhere for some of you, and that's Popeye Beach Volleyball. I remember playing this game for my series for every volleyball game ever, and it is one that came out of nowhere for me, but was a lot of fun to play. It's kind of polished. It's a Game Boy game. You can pass, set, hit, and what's really fun is to wind up your big punch and just punch a ball straight down, knocking somebody over. Like, it's got a unique twist on the beach volleyball gameplay, and I think with its simple mechanics and the fact that it was on the Game Boy puts it at number 8 on this list. At number 7 we have the Dead or Alive Beach Volleyball series. At this point in the list we kind of get into some of the ones I'd already considered for my other top 10 of all time list, so if you've seen that one this might be familiar to you, but if you haven't, Dead or Alive might seem like a strange one to put so high on this list, number 7, but I think it's one that, aside from all their gratuitous ass and titty shots, I think it does beach volleyball really well in each of the games, and the games are highly polished with HD textures and the animations and just everything looking quite good, and the beach volleyball is also the same, so I think that puts it at number 7 on this list. At number 6, once again, we've got Outlaw Volleyball, remixed version. I think that one redid everything a little bit better and kind of upped the ante for the game. Again, this one has some adult themes. It's not definitely for everyone, and it's got some offside stuff in there, but I think the gameplay is fun to play. I don't know how well it captures the spirit of beach volleyball, but it is definitely highly polished. It's got great voice acting, great soundtrack. I think it's a high quality game that offers a fun and unique twist on beach volleyball. At number 5 we've got Super Spike V-Ball / US Championship V-Ball. These are two games that are basically one and the same, and every time I think about this game I think of that killer soundtrack of that first level. I love it. But I think the mechanics are done quite well. I think you can still play this game online in browser or find ways to play this game, and it's worth your time. I think you can sweep through and kind of, if you get good, make your way to the final game, I think, which takes place on an aircraft carrier or something. Sorry about spoilers. But it's kind of a fun one. It's simple, but for the time offered really what was a lot of fun to be had. So that's why it puts it at where it is on this list. At number 4, again, we've got Power Spike Pro Beach Volleyball. If you haven't heard of this one, it is definitely one of the more unique ones on this list and one of my personal favorites. It's got actually licensed players from the FIVB World Tour in the game that you can play as and work through the World Tour mode, which is super unique. I'd love to see this more. FIVB, like, let's get on this and get some of the pros in there that we can play against. That would be hilarious. There's some great characters out there, but I think the gameplay really, the strength of this game is how well it captures kind of the spirit and essence of beach volleyball with the shots and the digs and kind of the defensive positioning and the serve accuracy, and kind of all the mechanics really capture the spirit of the sport in a great way. At number 3, we've got Summer Heat Beach Volleyball. Again, one of my personal favorites. I think one of the more polished beach volleyball games we've seen. The mechanics, I think, are a little bit simpler. I wish there was a little bit more here, but I think it's a fun game to play. You can play co-op with a partner, which is just great. See some of my gameplay videos with my bro Matt. That was hilarious. I would love to do that again, but COVID's restricting all of us. But hopefully when we clear up, I'm going to get some folks in to play some more of that, because it's just so much fun to play with a partner, have the block up there, ripping serves, trying to get net flippers, the massive sky balls, and the great soundtrack. So that's what puts it so high on this list. At number 2, I've got Super Volley Blast. This is one of the newer games on the list, one of the newer games, just period. I think it is a simple one, the 2D style, kind of moving around, but I really like what it brings for beach volleyball. It's highly polished. Available on Steam right now. You can go out and grab it. I highly recommend you do so. I think it earns its spot as one of the top beach volleyball games ever made with its highly polished mechanics. It kind of gives you everything you would want out of a beach volleyball video game, and I think for that reason it deserves to be at number 2. At number 1, once again, is the best, in my opinion, and my favorite beach volleyball video game of all time. That's Volleyball Unbound. What can I say about this game that I haven't said 100 times already, but I'll keep saying it. I love this game. I think it does a lot to represent the sport in a really great light and bring fun and interesting and deep gameplay mechanics to beach volleyball. If you're a fan of beach volleyball video games, beach volleyball in general, or video games or anything, go out and check out this game. It doesn't have the greatest aesthetic. I think it could use an art update for sure, but everything outside of that is done so well with such care. I've reached out to the developer a few times and chatted back and forth. This guy's a volleyball fan and kind of made it out of love for the sport, and I think it really shows in the final product, and I think it earns its spot at number 1 all time. Well, that'll do it for this list. I know it was a bit of a quick one, but mostly a recap from my top 10 list of all time. If you haven't seen that one, link in the description for that. I think we talked a little bit more about some of the games, but this was focused on the beach volleyball. Added a few in there that we hadn't heard already. If you guys disagree with me, which I'm sure you do, hit me up in the comments below. I'd love to hear that. Let me know. Let's chat about it. Let's talk about it. Maybe I'm way off, but I think I got a pretty representative list. Maybe there's some I missed that we can maybe add in there. But really the point was to kind of try to celebrate some of the great beach volleyball games that have been made in history, because really we don't get that many chances. We don't really have anything that's that famous that's really put out there, and I'm trying to hopefully be a small part of changing that and get volleyball and volleyball video games back out into the world and try to get that going. So thanks you guys for watching, and we hope to see you next time on Yes Guy Gaming.